You're listening to a production of the National Media Archive. To learn more or volunteer, go to nationalmediaarchive.com.
An ordinary shift, nothing to flag, nothing weird, until it is. A police officer pulls up behind a white Volkswagen Golf that just blasted through a red light. Standard offence. Maybe a warning, maybe a fine. But then things turn. The Golf doesn't stop. Instead it slows, creepy slow, 20 miles per hour in a 30. The officer signals the driver to pull over. Driver stares, sweating, mumbling paranoid lines, asking, "Are you trying to kill me?" Not the usual small talk. This is now something else. The car suddenly bolts, 80 miles per hour through a residential zone. The Golf barrels through narrow roads like it's trying to vanish. The officer gives chase, alone. Then boom, something flies out the driver's window, a black duffel bag. Officer stops, opens it. Inside, a loaded shotgun. So now it's not just speeding, not just evading, it's armed flight. Backup is en route. Officers scramble. Calls flood in. Someone just saw that same Golf driving the wrong way down the motorway. The suspect crashes into a car, gets out, starts fighting another man outside a petrol station. Middle of the day, families all around. It's chaos. Officers corner him. He's tasered. Twice. Still resists, high on something, kicking, screaming. Finally, he's cuffed. But it's not over. Detectives dig deeper. His name's Daniel Murdoch. Prior convictions for firearms, violence, drugs. He's lied about where he lives. Officers track down his real address. Inside the apartment, more guns, body armor, a spent cartridge. One gun even has a drug gang motto carved into the stock, and tucked away in a child's toy bag, another firearm, loaded. Murdoch pleads guilty to possessing a loaded shotgun in public, owning a prohibited firearm, and dangerous driving. 6.5 years in prison. All of it, set off by running a red light. Now, zoom out. Different case. Totally different city. But same pattern. Something small turns massive. A man walks into hospital, vomiting, cramping, collapsing, dead within 24 hours. Initial ruling, gastroenteritis. But the coroner's officer, Kate Booth, has questions. No previous illness, no warnings, and death by gastro? That's rare. The man's brother tells her something that changes everything. The deceased had dinner at his girlfriend's house the night before he got sick. Oh, and by the way, this same girlfriend once paid someone £2,000 to have him murdered. That hit was a fail. But now, with him dead, Kate isn't buying coincidence. And here's the kicker. The man's wife saved a bucket of vomit in her garage. No joke. Real thing. Investigators send it to the lab. Results come back. Traces of arsenic. Suddenly this isn't about spoiled stew. It's murder. Police dig into the girlfriend's background. Her motive? Property. She was trying to claim the dead man's house as her own, fighting with his family over ownership. Now things escalate. The body is exhumed. Lab tests on hair and nail clippings confirm arsenic exposure. Not once, but twice, weeks apart. Timeline lines up exactly with 2 known visits to the girlfriend's home. He ate there. He got sick. And now he's dead. She's arrested, charged with murder, attempted murder, and fraud. Trial runs 6 weeks. Verdict? Guilty. Life in prison. Another crime that started off looking like nothing and unraveled everything. Now, case 3. Detective Sergeant Liam Robertson gets a welfare call. An elderly man with dementia says a woman came into his flat, asked if he wanted sex, and left. Weird. But then his silver bracelet's missing. Liam pays a visit, starts asking questions. The old man struggles to answer. He's profoundly deaf. But one line stands out. "People keep coming into my flat. I just want to be left alone." Liam checks local CCTV, finds footage of a woman walking into the flat uninvited, not a carer, not a family member, just walks in. And then Liam looks across the street. The man's door, open. He walks in, finds the woman in the hallway, caught red-handed. She's arrested on the spot. In her bag, the missing bracelet. She's charged with burglary. And then it gets worse. Turns out she's been doing this all over town. Same woman, same pattern. She sneaks in, distracts elderly men, steals stuff, disappears. She gets 2 years in prison. But only because one officer followed a gut feeling and walked through an open door. What ties all of this together? It's the same story, told 3 ways. Tiny crimes, little signs, small moments that anyone else could miss. But catch them early, and they crack something much, much bigger. Back to Manchester. That white Volkswagen Golf, the one that ran the red light and kicked off a citywide chase, is now sitting in an evidence bay. But the damage isn't over yet. Daniel Murdoch isn't just another reckless driver with a gun. He's part of something bigger. Organized crime detectives pull up his record. He's got previous convictions for firearms violence and drugs. He's lied about his address. That's deliberate. He's hiding something. Police track his real residence. Flat search turns up more than just the usual stash. There's a second shotgun, this one stashed in a child's toy bag. Another one with F the police carved into the wood. Officers also find body armor, and most critically, they find a spent cartridge. That's what raises a red flag. Has he used one of these guns? Was there a shooting no one linked back to him yet? Forensics step in. They start cross-checking every inch. Fingerprints, DNA, even trigger residue. Murdoch's DNA? It's right there. On the trigger. Not a trace from holding it casually, actual pressure points from someone who held it to fire. Investigators still can't link him to a specific shooting. But now they don't need to. The illegal possession alone carries weight. Murdoch pleads guilty. Possession of a loaded shotgun, prohibited firearm, dangerous driving. Sentence 6.5 years behind bars, all from a red light. That's how close organized crime can come to slipping through unnoticed, until one officer decides to follow his gut. Now rewind to that strange death. The vomiting, the bucket of saved bile, the girlfriend turned poisoner. The exhumation uncovers something big. This wasn't a single dose of arsenic. It was repeated exposure. 2 specific days. Lab tests on hair samples reveal the timeline. Head hair grows at a steady rate. Forensic scientists match the arsenic levels to the exact days the man visited the suspect. Both visits included meals. Both preceded violent illness. Then comes the financial motive. Turns out the girlfriend had been trying to transfer ownership of the dead man's home to herself. Illegally. Solicitors were already involved. Police confirm this was about property, about money. A house she wanted to keep. The suspect had tried to outsource the murder years earlier. Hired a hitman for £2,000. He took the cash but never followed through. Instead, he warned the victim. Fast forward 3 years. The man's dead. Same woman. Same motive. This time, no middleman. Just poison. Police rearrest her. She claims innocence, denies everything. But the arsenic in the vomit says otherwise. So does the arsenic in her own system. Trace amounts match what was in the deceased. Trial kicks off. 6 weeks of evidence. 2 counts of attempted murder. 1 count of fraud. 1 count of actual murder. Verdict, guilty on all counts. Sentence, life. Kate Booth, the coroner's officer, said it best. This was almost missed. A death certificate had already been issued. The case could have been closed, but something didn't sit right. And because someone asked the right questions, a murderer didn't walk free. That same thread runs through every case. The traffic officer who spotted crash damage that didn't match the car. The coroner's officer who questioned a diagnosis that didn't fit. The detective who didn't look away when an old man said he just wanted to be left alone. Small crimes, gut instincts, massive consequences, every time. The most haunting part? None of these started with flashing lights or chaos. They started quiet. A car, a meal, a knock at the door. Take Detective Sergeant Liam Robertson again. At first, it wasn't a burglary. It wasn't even a crime, just a call from a care agency. A man with dementia mentioned a woman had been in his flat, asked him inappropriate questions, made him uncomfortable. Oh, and his bracelet was missing. Doesn't scream high priority, but Liam knew better. He visits, starts with simple questions. Who came in? What did she look like? What did she do? But the man struggles to recall. He's elderly, he's deaf. Most of his answers come out jumbled or incomplete. Still, there's a pattern. He keeps repeating one line. People keep coming into my flat. I just want to be left alone. That's what Liam locks onto. He checks the area, sees a liquor store across the street, surveillance cameras facing the man's flat. He pulls the footage. Bingo. A woman is clearly seen entering the man's home. No uniform, no ID. Just walks in. So Liam heads back, just across the street, just to check. The door? Ajar. He steps inside, calls out. Nothing. Then from the hallway she appears. Blonde hair, same woman from the CCTV. She's caught in the act. Liam arrests her on the spot. In her bag is the man's silver bracelet, the one he always wore, the one his carers said was missing. But it doesn't end there. Turns out this isn't her first time. Other reports start stacking up. A man says she got aggressive, shouted and spat at him. Another says he let her in, she asked to use the bathroom, and then his laptop disappeared. Liam checks more footage. Same woman, same pattern. In and out of homes. Fast. She's a serial burglar. targeting the elderly, using distraction, deception, and speed. Back at the station, during questioning, she refuses to talk. Claims the bracelet was found on the floor. Says she just picked it up. But surveillance shows no such move. Caught on video. Caught in the act. And now charged with multiple counts of burglary and theft. She pleads guilty, gets 2 years. It's not a long sentence, but it's enough to stop her for now. And it was all thanks to a welfare check most officers might have written off. Now go back again. That hospital case, the bucket, the poison. The timeline becomes everything. Arsenic isn't like other toxins. It sticks around. Hair samples become a calendar exposure. Scientists are able to trace each dose back to specific dates. Dates that Anne visited the woman who ultimately killed him. She fed him, he got sick. Then she did it again. 6 weeks later, he died. She thought the body was buried, that she was safe. But lab results said otherwise. Then there's motive. That house, her claims of ownership, legal battles with the man's family. Police tie it all together. Arsenic, property dispute, prior murder plot. They even get the hitman to testify. Every piece adds up. She gets life in prison. But the point isn't just that these people were caught. It's how close they came to slipping through. Daniel Murdoch, driving a Golf. He had guns hidden in toy bags, body armor, a second loaded shotgun. Would have vanished if not for one red light. The serial burglar walked through open doors, took jewelry and electronics from people who couldn't even remember their names, and the woman who used poison instead of a pistol twice. The man she killed didn't even see it coming. These weren't perfect criminals, just quiet ones, and that's what made them dangerous. The thing about small crimes, they're not small. Not when they happen in patterns, not when they happen to people who can't defend themselves. That's what made the burglary case hit hard. Liam Robertson wasn't just solving theft. He was uncovering someone who deliberately preyed on vulnerability. Not once, repeatedly. She targeted elderly men, people isolated from family, people with dementia, people whose memories couldn't back them up. She counted on that. The off-license CCTV caught her twice, 2 separate incidents. Same woman, same approach, casual, calculated. She didn't break in, she was let in, because that's what made it work. The story didn't even need to be convincing. Just urgent. A request to use the toilet. A fake concern. Sometimes a fake flirt. That's all it took. One man realized his laptop was gone after she left. Another had jewelry missing. One got shouted at. Another spat that last one. She never took anything. But abuse like that leaves a mark too. And yet these crimes often go unreported. Because most of the time there's no video, no witness. Just an elderly person unsure if they misplaced something or if it was taken. This case was different. Because Liam moved fast, he trusted the instinct that something wasn't right. And when he walked through that half-open door and saw her inside the house, that was it. Caught red-handed. The arrest gave police time to link her to other victims, one by one. Statements, video evidence, recovered items. But even then, she barely spoke. She offered a pre-written statement. Claimed the visit was by invitation, that the bracelet found in her purse had just been on the ground. But she had no answer when confronted with the footage. She went silent, which was fine. The evidence spoke loud enough. She's not just a thief. She's a serial offender who used trust as her weapon. She didn't need to break a window, just a boundary. Now step back again, to the toxicology case. The woman suspected of killing her boyfriend had something else working in her favor. Time. When the coroner signed off on gastroenteritis, that was supposed to be it. The man was buried. And with him, so was most of the evidence. But then came that bucket, that gross old sour bucket kept in a garage by a grieving wife who just knew something was off. That's what saved the case. And even when lab results showed arsenic, the hurdle wasn't cleared. Investigators had to prove it was deliberate, that it wasn't environmental, that it didn't come from tainted food or accidental exposure. That's why hair samples mattered so much. They showed consistent levels of arsenic at 2 distinct points, each aligned with meals served by the same woman at the same address. It wasn't an overdose. It was planned, controlled, spaced out, which made it murder. Police uncovered motive through property records. The victim's house had been the center of a bitter dispute. His girlfriend tried to transfer the deed into her name. Illegally. She wanted it. She thought killing him would settle it. But it didn't. Because the coroner's officer didn't stop asking questions, because the lab team didn't stop analyzing samples, because investigators didn't stop following the timelines. That's what cracked it. When she was arrested again, her story didn't change. She denied it all, but it didn't matter. The vomit, the house, the hitman, it all added up. She wasn't unlucky. She was caught. Every case boiled down to the same moment. Someone saw something that didn't make sense and refused to let it slide. Neil, the traffic officer, saw a car that didn't match its owner. The white Volkswagen Golf wasn't polished, it was banged up, and the way it blew through a red light didn't look like carelessness, looked like panic. So he followed it, and what unfolded after that wasn't a routine stop. It was a live threat. A man driving erratically through neighborhoods at 90 miles per hour, alone, armed, possibly high, tossing a loaded shotgun out the window like it was trash. That bag changed everything. It proved the driver wasn't just scared, he was dangerous. And Neil knew his colleagues were still trying to stop the vehicle without knowing what that man had just dumped. He got on the radio, fast, let them know. This wasn't just about traffic anymore. It was about guns, safety, lives. The suspect crashed his car, got out, started fighting someone outside a petrol station. Families were nearby, kids. It could have gone way worse. He got tasered twice, kept fighting, took multiple officers to bring him down. And when they did, that was just the beginning. The investigation revealed who he really was, a known felon with firearms convictions. The shotgun he threw out wasn't a one-off, it was one of two. The other was found inside a children's toy bag at his home, and still loaded. Detectives also found body armor, a spent cartridge, messages carved into weapons meant to intimidate. They knew this wasn't just some joyrider. This was someone prepared to use what he had. Murdoch had lied about his address, lied about where he was staying. The only reason they found the flat was because detectives did old-school door knocking, asking neighbors, piecing together his real location one response at a time. And when they got in, no booby traps, no standoff. But what they found spoke volumes. That second shotgun especially. It had been hidden like a child's toy, inside a bag within reach of anyone. The trigger? Covered in his DNA. Even without tying the weapon to a known shooting, that one detail was enough. He held it. He could have used it. That was all prosecutors needed. He pled guilty. The case wrapped. But what it proved stuck with everyone involved. How fast something small can explode. How close danger can sit without being noticed. And how following a weird gut feeling, even something as simple as a banged-up car running a red, can prevent the worst. These weren't stories about mistakes. They were stories about almosts. Almost got away, almost buried, almost ignored, almost ended differently. Sometimes the most disturbing part isn't the crime, it's how close it came to being forgotten. That's exactly what Kate Booth, the retired coroner's officer, was facing. A young man died within 24 hours of being admitted to the hospital. The original cause? Severe gastroenteritis. Extremely rare, but it happens. Still, Kate wasn't buying it. There were no underlying conditions, no evidence of foodborne illness, no outbreak anywhere else. The brother mentioned he'd vomited a few times. That was it. Then came the twist. He didn't eat at home. He ate at his girlfriend's house. And that girlfriend? She'd allegedly paid someone to have him killed 3 years earlier. The hit never happened, because the would-be killer warned him. But he stayed in the relationship, and now he was dead. That's when the man's wife told Kate she'd kept a bucket of vomit in her garage. It sounded ridiculous, until the test results came back. Traces of arsenic. It wasn't a fluke. It was murder. But even with poison confirmed, police needed to prove intent. A forensic pathologist might have missed it at first, but not anymore. This wasn't accidental. Arsenic isn't something people casually ingest. The dead man had been poisoned twice, once weeks before, then again, fatally. Hair samples confirmed the timeline. Arsenic was present at 2 distinct points in the hair's growth, each tied to a date he'd visited the suspect and eaten her food. That put her at the scene. Not once, twice. But why? The house. She'd been fighting the victim's family over the property, trying to transfer ownership to her name, without legal standing. It was a motive born out of greed. And investigators weren't done. Traces of arsenic were also found in the suspect's system. That sealed the case. Yet even then, police didn't immediately rearrest her. They held back, watched the legal dispute over the house unfold, collected more evidence, then they moved. She was arrested. Again. And this time, it stuck. She denied everything, but the facts weren't on her side. 2 attempted murders, one with a failed hitman, the second with poison, and finally murder by arsenic, all for property, all planned. She went to trial, 6 weeks of testimony, forensics, financial records, witnesses, timeline breakdowns, digital traces, hair sample analytics, the bucket. The jury found her guilty on all charges: murder, attempted murder, fraud. She was sentenced to life in prison. This wasn't a cold case. It wasn't a high-profile headline grabber. It was almost nothing, almost buried, literally. And yet, it cracked open because someone trusted their instinct that something just wasn't right, that a death certificate with gastroenteritis didn't close the book. Sometimes justice starts with a bucket of vomit and ends with life in prison. One small action, one missed cue, that's all it takes. The man who ran a red light wasn't just in a rush. He was running with a loaded shotgun, a criminal record, and a plan. Caught because a traffic officer spotted damage on a car that didn't match its behavior. The elderly man thought he was just being visited. But the visitor was a thief, targeting him and others like him. Caught because a detective took the time to listen and walked into a flat that didn't feel right. The young man who died of food poisoning was actually slowly poisoned over weeks. His killer tried once through a hitman, then succeeded using a meal. Caught because someone kept a bucket that nobody else would have thought to test. 3 cases, all starting with small moments: a red light, a missing bracelet, an unexplained death. None of them looked like crimes at first, but they were. And in each case, someone refused to walk away, refused to write it off. That's the difference between a dead-end report and a full-blown investigation that ends in court, because the biggest cases don't always start big. They hide inside the little ones, and when they break open, they reveal everything.